Anyway, so marriage background. Early 20s, friends with benefits, big career opportunities in the States, moved in together about a year after we met. Then they split up for a while because he cheated on her a few times and confessed. And after that, he put in brackets, wrong move. She then cheated on me, got attached, and he ended it. That's usually what happens, right? You cheat on her, then she goes, I'm going to cheat on you to level the playing field. And then, disaster ensues. We met again a year later after they broke up, dated, moved in, and married. Prior to marriage, we had a pretty good intimate life. But it dried up almost immediately in marriage. Shocking, right? What do I keep telling you guys? Proximity is one of those problems with long-term relationships. You spend a lot of time together. The proximity of you spending a lot of time together can be problematic. Absence is what makes the heart grow fonder. Familiarity breeds contempt. All that good stuff. Anyway, she's not that interested in intimacy after they get married. I distinctly remember thinking during the honeymoon, this is not what I expected. This is a bit disappointing, but trying to make the most of it. Wife suddenly was no longer into kink and any of the other things that he liked. I'm not going to mention them because it gets a little too descriptive, but use your imagination. Stuff that he likes, she's no longer doing. And the marriage turned into unenthusiastic, transactional intimacy a few times a month. So there's a difference between validational intimacy and transactional. Transactional is she's just doing it to shut you up, right? Validational is she's going to text you on her way home and say, be naked for when I get there, okay? Totally different set of expectations and results. Anyway. A few times a month. This isn't for a lack of trying on his part. I've bought Esther Perel's courses, toys, and anything I could to make it more enjoyable. None of it worked. There was one very notable exception. My wife is usually down for a threesome if I can pull it. So let's talk about the thruple. Not surprisingly, this thruple started as a threesome. This was a girl we met through mutual friends while on a big group vacation. First threesome happened organically at the hotel. It was such a good experience, we decided to keep going with occasional meetups for intimacy. Over time, we all felt like the connections were deepening, and with a group discussion, we decided to shift the dynamics to more of a relationship-like structure, forming an official thruple, a three-way relationship at this point. Starts out as a threesome, turns into a three-way relationship as they navigate it. And then he calls her our girlfriend. Would come to live with my wife and I for a few weeks at a time. We would reciprocate with long visits to her. Our girlfriend and I were getting closer emotionally and share passion for bettering ourselves. She was always been interested in my interests, my personal interests. I don't spend much time consuming content, but when I do, it's often the stuff that I talk about. And she'll watch it with me. She knew enough to tell me when the throuple ended that I have alpha widowed her. So that's how familiar she got with the content. Moving on. However, as the throuple relationship continued to develop, my wife began to withdraw. Shocking, right? Leading to less frequent threesomes, but it seemed as though my wife was very happy outsourcing the intimacy aspect of a relationship to our girlfriend. Our girlfriend wants intimacy all the time, and a year into this, she still wanted me 5 times a day. It's interesting that the girlfriend wants him a lot, but when you turn a girlfriend into a wife, she wants you a lot less. Just making an observational statement of fact. It is what it is. He goes on to say, she's the closest thing I've ever encountered in real life to a nymphomaniac and will do anything or kink you can think of, and initiates a couple times a day, even a year into the relationship. I've been in enough relationships to know that she is way above the mean in libido. The thruple was a reprieve from the lack of sex in my marriage. We went on for exactly 1 year, but with my wife withdrawing emotionally from the thruple, it was getting very draining to keep going, with both girls becoming sad and needing increasing emotional management until it was easier for everyone to call off the thruple. That I ultimately pulled the trigger out of exhaustion. I've said many times, guys, dealing with women is exhausting. I get the draw or the appeal of having multiple women at your beck and call. Powerful men throughout history have done this. And It works sometimes, but for the most part, it doesn't work. Every example I've seen thus far doesn't have a winning model. I would love to talk to somebody that has a winning model. I'm going to talk about Casey Jones a little bit because I had him on for a podcast and put that on that Zoom on the email list, but I'll talk about that in just a moment because that's referenced in a moment. Out of exhaustion. Anyway, girlfriend is more balanced and domestic, not career focused, makes good money, as doesn't matter. All of us are pretty fit and attractive without kids and without significant medical or life complications, and totally financially independent. I do have a prenup in place with a wife, so not worried about any sort of transfer of assets or alimony maintenance, but will categorically downgrade income if I leave wife for girlfriend. My wife and girlfriend have remained on good terms through it all, talk regularly, and hang out in the same friend group. I also still talk to the girlfriend almost daily. So here's a question he has. Now that the throuple is over, I'm facing a dilemma. So the relationship with his girlfriend has become incredibly fulfilling on an intimacy basis, the best either of us have ever had. By the way, you do want to hear a woman say, this is the best I've ever had. This is a good sign. This is what you want to hear before making any kind of further investment or commitment, if you will. I was lucky enough to read The Game around the age 14. I guess he's making reference to the Neil Strauss book, and have a lot of options and intimacy, and have had a lot of options and intimacy. And this is by far the best I've ever had, and the connection feels stronger. On the other hand, I have a life and commitments with my wife, and I love her and her family. I've expressed my desire to fix my marriage before making any drastic decisions. And my girlfriend has told me to find her if I ever decide to leave my wife. This leaves me torn between the stability of life I've built with the wife and the connection I've found with a girlfriend. I'm fearful of losing that stability, but I also don't want to be trapped in a sexless marriage, potentially leading to long-term unhappiness. Both girls, I believe, love me very much and are good people. I love both of them back and consider myself a good person as well. I probably have more status with the wife. I'll probably have more intimacy and connection with the girlfriend. Right now, I exist in a half state with 1 foot in the marriage and 1 foot with the girlfriend. I need a plan. And there's some follow-up too. He's got a couple of photographs over here. They're good-looking gals. So the first thing I asked him is, what's stopping you from staying married and continuing to see the girlfriend in general? I mean, you've essentially had an open marriage, and why not leave it as status quo? He responds and says, that's essentially what we did for the last 3 months of the throuple, but in my case, it sucked. Both girls were continuously sad. I ended up being exhausted managing their emotions to the point I had to pull the trigger by ending it. I think it's so exhausting because the girls were happy with the throuple, but when the relationship between the two of them broke down and it became more of me dating both of them than the true three-way relationship, so it's like he's dating the wife and he's dating the girlfriend, neither was truly okay with sharing him emotionally. At this point, I've talked to them, both okay with threesomes when I can pull it off, but not much more of anything outside of that. Could I use game and strong arm, a more open arrangement? Probably, but it wouldn't be the same unhappy stuff I found so exhausting before, where one or both the girls was sad all the time. I'm also in general more interested in growing the business than making game a core part of my day right now, as you should be. Chase excellence, not women, as it's been said, right? And managing the two of them was a big time-consuming effort for me. Given a throuple no longer sustainable, I've left trying to figure out what to do or who to choose. There's some useful feedback here by one of the guys in our community who said, I think your wife's genuine burning desire shifted to the man she left you for prior to the marriage and never returned. She gave it a shot to lock you down but couldn't keep the act up. While reading, I couldn't figure out why you wouldn't just untie the knot until I read this. Will categorically downgrade income if I leave wife for girlfriend. So he picked up on something interesting there. You need to restructure your life to where a woman's income has literally zero bearing on it. I think this is good advice. You're in a partnership territory, and it's going to lead you to making bad decisions. I also think the crazy monkey sex from your side girl is clouding your vision. You're a good-looking dude. You are at the very beginning of prime years. If you do the right things, you'll likely have even better options at 44 than you do today. And then he asks questions about, do you want children? If it's not happening with either of these women, I think you're unnecessarily complicating your life. Your focus should be on doubling your income so you are making more than when you were on his last job. happily entertain women without thinking about income. Well, he's basically asking in the dilemma, do I choose a wife or a girlfriend? I think the answer to this is pretty straightforward. You choose what's best for you. It seems like, as it was pointed out, the wife is there to help meet the financial obligations, and the girlfriend was there to help meet the intimacy requirements that he has. And he's not getting both in any one woman. It's been said you can have it all, but you can't have it all at the same time with the same person. Wise women will say this to unwise women. I'll give you an example. A woman that's like, here's my laundry list of 37 really important things that the guy must have. Be over 6'2", make a certain income, all this sort of stuff. A wise woman would dispense advice and say, you can have it all, but you're probably not going to have it all in the same person. Like, you're not going to get it all in the same place. So these thruples exist. They are exhausting. They're draining because women are draining in general. I had years ago, I had this gal, super attractive, and she announced that she was bi and that she wanted to, how can I put this out there so it's cleaner? She wanted to taste another woman. Okay. So she does some work, finds one, invites her in. We sit down, have a few drinks, so they're in a bar, see how that goes. And then when it comes to the evening, there's probably 3 hours. And she had this rule. And one of the things that I've learned from guys that manage multiple women simultaneously together, I'm talking about together, not independently. Like, spinning plates is just independent, right? Together as a thruple, is that there's always rules that come into play. Oh, you can do this with her, but you can't do that. And the one that I got was, you have to start the night with me and you have to end the night with me. And what we do together in the middle is fine, whatever, but you have to end the night with me, right? It was super important. It's like, after 3.5 hours and into the wee hours of the night, I was just like ready for bed, and she was pissed off that I didn't want to end the night with her. There's always some nonsense that's going to come out of all of this. There's always going to be some drama when you're dealing with women, because women are emotional and they have a proclivity for creating complexity and drama in your life. And because this guy is in his young 30s, he still has lots of room to climb in his career. His wife is older than him. I would not be leaning on her to take care of things. I certainly wouldn't be distracted with multiple women from my purpose, which should be the business. This has got to be incredibly draining, dealing with this constantly, with the emotional roller coaster up and down. The wife's withdrawn, the girlfriend's throwing extra at you. And by the way, the extra level of incredible intimacy, the best you've ever had, as you claim with her, is unlikely to continue into perpetuity if you make her your one and only, or if you invite her into your life as your wife and you leave your existing wife. So you divorce the professional and then you want to marry this one. It's very unlikely that the enthusiasm that she's had for you in the past is going to continue into perpetuity. It doesn't usually get better. Usually, as you get to know each other more and you spend more time together and you live together, anybody that's lived with a woman will tell you, prior to living together versus living together, whether that's married or unmarried, doesn't matter, the amount and level and depth of the intimacy that you're getting will go down. It doesn't usually get better. I really hope you guys enjoyed that clip. If you want to watch the full-length podcast, you can find that over here, that clip's from. If you're newer to the channel, make sure you hit subscribe over here, and pin down below in the top comment, you'll find a bunch of useful links to my website, my supplement line, books, and a bunch of other stuff. Have an amazing day. Peace out.